Hello guys, and welcome back to another shipbuilding guide where we'll be covering some more advanced tips about shipbuilding. You don't need these tips in order to build a ship, but they will go that little bit further when creating better ship layouts, because we're all struggling with doors and ladders in awkward positions currently, and we'll also cover the use of merging items together to make beautiful builds, which we've kind of already touched on before. So if you are looking specifically for a ship building tutorial that covers all the basics, I do recommend checking out the guide that I've already done previously, which I'll place in the cards or at the end of this video in order to jump to that. But firstly, let's talk about merging items together. Now, I've previously covered a tip that I used to merge these bumpers together with the landing gears. The system was simple enough, selecting a buildable that has different size variants and then changing the variant from a small piece that's currently placeable adjacent to the blocked piece that we want to have it, and then switching to a double piece variant of that. Now, it can be quite finicky, but it does allow you to place these bumpers along the side of the ship, as you can see here, and it's a particular style that I really like with these. It looks very smooth and has a lovely finish to it. However, I did want to bring up to light a technique from Crimson Flyboy, another YouTuber, who covered a technique on Xbox for merging different items together. And I'll admit it's even simpler than the system that I've discovered, and I've been working through it to see if it can be applied to the computer version as well. So I thought I'd cover it here, but do check out their channel and do drop them a subscribe and give them a thumbs up on their video as well, because it is very useful. I'll put a link to the channel in the description below. Now, as you can see, this system can merge any items that are placeable, providing one of the pieces is flippable, and there are two different connection points, one for the first piece and one for the second merging piece. To do this technique, place down the first item, then we will grab our second item that will be merging inside the other one, as you can see with this piece here. Now, this does need to be a flippable piece, as I mentioned, and it also needs to have a permittable connection to another module, such as this second connection here. Oh, and one other thing that's really important to bear in mind with this, you have to place the item down on the grid first before you actually place it on anything. If you do it straight from the menu, it won't work. So take the item from the menu, place it on the map, and then drag that to the placement. Flip it twice, and then press tab, and it should work. Though do be aware that you may have some visual bugs inside the ship occasionally, like you can see here. This works particularly well for things like shield generators and also larger weapons. You can clip them through structural pieces so that it looks like the weapon is sticking out, and that's a pretty cool look. It also makes everything look a lot more streamlined because you're not breaking apart the silhouette for all these different pieces. Now, with those merging tips out of the way, let's cover ship layout, specifically the doorways and ladders and the connections. Now, I've tried for several hours to work out the ins and outs of this system and the connections that between all the halves, and unfortunately there isn't one given rule that I can specifically say works and doesn't. And based off of all the test builds that I've done, creating equal distances between dockers and the cockpits, I've discovered that some modules always have a preferred door location, such as in this section here. Whenever I've connected the two side halves together, rather than doing a loop, the right-hand hab entering the ship will always have a toilet, unless there is no second route available. I've noticed this with multiple layouts, and I've also noticed that unfortunately you cannot loop any of the layouts together. So that's something to bear in mind when you are building these. I've also tried saving the ship after doing a couple of halves and then adding on to that and then saving it and adding on. But unfortunately, again, it doesn't ensure that the doorway that was there prior is there when you load in with a different hab. There just doesn't seem to be anything that works. In my mind, what we should be able to do is to place a doorway or a ladder, or not even a doorway or a ladder, but a connection point between modules, a bit like we have the equipment mounts currently. And we can place the equipment mounts where we want, and from there we can attach the weapons to that. Well, we should be able to place one of them in between the hub and modules, and that will merge them together, it will connect them. Unfortunately, that doesn't seem to be the case, but who knows in the future. The other thing that I have tried with this is placing the hubs directly onto the points. This doesn't seem to change the system either, so we really are left at this point to just build within the restraints of this build system. But I feel that the key takeaway from this information is knowing that we cannot loop a layout. So at the moment we can use that to create better layouts for our ships by purposefully avoiding placing loops both horizontally and vertically. For example, if we place our bay on the bottom, I recommend adding a corridor after the bay to create a ladder up to the next level. This is where we're going to place another corridor, and that's going to be our way of going up and down between the levels. At this point, we can place an engineering room after this directly in front of the corridor on the first level. And then on the level above, what I'll do is place hubs either side of the corridor piece or even behind it. This ensures that the entrances are only in the corridor section rather than having random doors and ladders throughout. And you can also fill the spaces with structural pieces or storage or equipment, whatever you prefer. When it comes to doing my ships, I do try and make it all make sense with various levels. So for example, on the lower deck, I'll have my bay, my storage bays, my workshop and engineering. And then on the next floor, I'll have my crew areas and labs, which will be the majority of the mid deck. And then on the top layer, I'll have my control rooms, my computers, cockpits and armory. Doing this creates an easy flow to follow. And if you're not interested in one long ladder at one point in your ship, what you can do is play with having different sections taking you to the next level or giving you access to different areas. But I do hope you found my trialing useful. If you did, please do hit the thumbs up, and if you want to see more content from Starfield, make sure to subscribe for more. I'm actually toying between working on large outpost buildings as a mini Let's Play series, or modding the game to allow creating more iconic large ships that you may have seen in films and series. So let me know what you'd like to see in the comments below. Special thanks does go to all of our amazing supporters on Patreon, most notably our SolarClipse patrons, James Owen, Firefless and Treble, as well as our Lunars, the Calamity, Ben, Star and That Dude AW, as well as our Blood Moon of the day, which today is Adam the Useless. Until next time, as always, ciao for now.